Greetings and salutations, my friends. It's Jordy Jordan, otherwise known as your brother from another mother. I figured I'd bring you some Battlefield gameplay. Why not? It's a 25-0. I use a little DV boat. I use a whole lot of sidearm. And I use some DMR. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Topic at hand, though, that's another suit. I want to talk about human cruelty, Chris Kyle, and Jesse Ventura. And the whole idea. It's a broad spectrum of topics. So let's touch on this. Let's touch on the Chris Kyle, Jesse Ventura topic right out the gate. For those of you unaware, DJ Keemstar had a video that he got kind of a lot of hate from for basically saying the Iraqi war wasn't needed and that Chris Kyle's a liar and things of that nature. And I'm not really going to touch on the validity of Chris Kyle's story. More so than I'm going to touch on the fact that it doesn't matter. I recently went and watched American Sniper, and I didn't enjoy the movie. And I didn't enjoy the movie mainly because, one, it really showed how brutal, it didn't show, it gave a glimpse of how brutal war could actually be. And I'll touch on that a little bit further on the subject. Don't cut off right now. It showed a Hollywoodistic style of brutal war, and it showed a guy that is not so much a hero, but is a guy that enjoyed killing. When I watched that film, it's like a 2.5-hour film, and I watched his pregnant wife cry and tell him, please don't go, and he still does 2 tours telling himself that he's doing it for his brothers, that he's doing it for his compatriots, that he's doing it for all the people that's still on the battlefield. This man loved to kill. And you're like, how do you know this, Wings? You're not Chris Kyle. Well, I'm not Chris Kyle. But I can tell you this. If you've ever watched any kind of Vietnam War thing, you will understand the idea of what it's like to kill. There's a documentary I watched years ago. It's called First Kill. It's a Vietnam War documentary. You actually can find it on YouTube. And in this documentary, it talks to 4, maybe 5 people, and they talk about their experience in Vietnam. One of them was a tunnel rat. A tunnel rat's a job that basically you get a guy that's really small in stature that would go down into the tunnels of the Viet Cong and fight them in close quarters combat. The whole idea is irrelevant. What the idea is it shows you people get addicted to killing. They enjoy it. They hunger for it. And like even one of them says that he hated being back home because it didn't give him the high he wanted anymore. And a lot of people turn to drugs because of that. And you can write it off as what you want, but it's a high that you chase. And a guy that kills 160 people, he's searching for a high. That's what he's exactly doing. You can say it's, the sheepdog protecting the sheep all you want. You're going after something. When you do something like that, there's some kind of enjoyment out of it. Speaking from my own experience, I know this is apples and oranges. I've done a lot of YouTube videos, and not so much recently, but I've done a lot. And when I was in my peak of my success, I enjoyed doing YouTube videos. I fell in love with the process of doing YouTube videos. I loved reading the comments and everything else. There was a joy for the labor, and that's pretty much universal in every aspect of anything you do. If you do something long enough, there's something that you get from doing that you enjoy. You might hate work, but you enjoy the paycheck at the end of the week enough to basically keep you coming back. And to put your life in danger, you get that rush, that adrenaline high, that first kill. And it's not something that's new. And the whole reason I brought up that documentary was that it's something that people see. They see it happening. Let's talk about Vietnam for a second. During the Vietnam War, the last thing the troops would do before, these were Marines now, the last thing a Marine would do before they were sent off to Vietnam was you'd have an officer come up to you, sit you in a classroom setting, and they'll bring a bunny out. Floppy-eared bunny, Johnny Cottontail. He's happy, he's petting the bunny, passes the bunny around to the class. Everybody starts to like the bunny. They play games with the bunny. They get you an emotional bond with that animal. Everybody's starting to somewhat like the animal. Then once the bunny gets back around the class, the sergeant breaks the bunny's neck, guts the bunny open, and then skins him and throws the entrails into the classroom. This was done almost every in classes right toward the end of boot camp for Marines during Vietnam era. This was to kind of harden people, harden psyches. You see something that you love just die in front of you. It's a way to see who is prepared to see their buddy to see getting blown away. And it's that psychological trauma that's so messed up with war. And there's so many, I don't want to say the wrong words here. There's so many gray areas when it comes to speaking about war. But to me, I feel like Chris Kyle was that case where he had severe PTSD. He enjoyed killing. He enjoyed his purpose in life to kill. And when he got back to the States and he couldn't kill anymore, how can you shut it off? I mean, he even told some very exuberant stories of going to like New Orleans and sitting on top of the Superdome and picking off looters, killing 2 people in Dallas, Texas at a gas station that tried to carjack him. There's just all kinds of things. And luckily the film didn't touch on some of these things. But it paints out a person that is addicted to killing. And you could understand that he's addicted to killing. And there's some noticeable differences in the American Sniper movie that I noticed that after doing some research I realized that wasn't in his book, like such as the butcher. In the movie, in the movie he actually kills his counter sniper, which he doesn't in the book. Some things just to try to make it more Hollywood eyes. And a lot of people went into there. When I was in the theater, it was majority older people. They look at that as like America, he's doing what he has to do to be good. And like for the most part, America has never been a good country at war. There's a reason people hate America. And it's not because this has nothing to do with political reasons or anything like that. There's a reason people hate us as a country. There's a reason why Uncle Sam is pointed the fingers at. And I read all kinds of stuff, especially political stuff about the war. And I remember somebody saying that soldiers in Iraq still fight for Saddam. Keep in mind, I heard this saying when my brother was actually over there fighting people. And here's the thing. No soldier fights for a dictator after a certain point. The Viet Cong wasn't fighting us because they were about communist movements. They weren't fighting us to uphold Russia's ideals. The Viet Cong were fighting us because every village the United States walked into, we burned. The Viet Cong were fighting us because villages had 19-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 16-year-olds raped and then shot. The Viet Cong were fighting us because we would capture prisoners of war, hogtie them with barbed wire across the eyes and across the wrist, take them on airplanes, and throw them out, and do the procedure of like, don't count prisoners until the plane touches ground. So you don't have to worry about any of the prisoners you decide to throw out for your leisure time. If you've ever watched like movies like Full Metal Jacket, they talk about, Vietnam war crimes. And you see people like spill it out. That like Hitler was this horrible person. Which he was. Hitler was a horrible dictator. And you can see this by the graphic like Holocaust films. That's proof that Hitler was a horrible person. But if you think about it, America's done just as bad or worse in every scenario. World War II. We had B-29 Superfortrers just fly across Japan, the mainland Japan, and they would drop payloads of napalm. And this napalm would catch on fire the houses that were made of mainly bamboo and like just mainly wood houses. Japan had a lot of wood housing. And they did this, they killed something along the lines of 400,000 civilians in the span of 48 hours. That is astronomical how fast people kill. And this is not the only time the United States kills civilians. During the Iraqi war, we killed something along the lines of 120,000. And I remember I went on the Painkiller already, and I debated with them that we shouldn't go to war with ISIS. And they said, no, we should definitely go to war with ISIS. Because here's the thing. The ISIS war is a holy war. We should not dictate into holy wars. And you see it on the TV all the time. You see Phil Robertson with his beard preaching Christianity, just as you see the dictator for ISIS with his beard preaching Islam. They want to kill each other, and they want to use your kids to kill each other. And there's a lot of families in the middle that just want to be a family in between that are going to die. Just as the American troops walked through Vietnam, burning babies, burning villages, dropping napalm. Just as Hitler took the Jews and blamed them for the Germany's loss in World War I and left them to starve to death. People will paint it in a certain way to make it look right. And there's nothing beautiful about it. Yes, I play war games on this channel a lot. I got Battlefield footage right here. But to pretend that Chris Kyle is this American hero is asinine. Chris Kyle was a psychopath that had a delusion that what he was doing was good. And that's all you got to do. You got to convince yourself what you're doing is good. And it's okay. Is he a liar? I don't know. I don't know the dude. The person that accused him of lying is a proven conspiracy nut. Jesse the Body Ventura. I mean, this is a guy that claims that there's, the World Trade Center was an inside job, and that 2,000 plus, airplane workers, obviously let them through checkpoints, and that, they brought down the Twin Towers with demolitions, and that they had paint into they painted nitroglycerin into the walls of the towers and stuff like that. Could it be an inside job? It's possible. I've even touched on it myself before, but at the end of the day, there's too many variables, and you can't pass a note around the room without something changing. To have 2,000 plus variables for something to go off with a hitch like that to be a cover-up be nearly impossible, and I don't think Bush could have done it anyway. But that's my whole opinion on the whole American Sniper Chris Kyle thing. I don't look at America as this country of good guys like a lot of people do. We're not a country of good guys. We're a country that is on top. We're a country that has a military of world dominating proportions. We spend so much money in our military, and we always want to show it off, which is a good thing, because in the long run, a resource war will happen. And when a resource war does happen, you're going to want to be the country with the bigger dick. But that's my little piece. That's what I'm going to say. Hopefully you guys enjoy the footage. If you want a topic for me to discuss, leave it in the comment section below. As always, please leave a like rating. Helps the channel. Helps the video get out to other people's sub boxes. Helps the video get noticed. It helps the channel grow. Thank you guys. It's your boy Wings of Redemption. I'm out.